What are the 3 most common ways to connect a trailer to a tow vehicle that we see here at Princess Craft RV? We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Right now, I'm standing next to some of our nüCamp products. This happens to be a nüCamp Tab 320, and they're coming out with a new 360 here soon. Can't wait to see that. But on the nüCamp products, you will find, and with most standard bumper tow style rigs, you'll find ball style coupling points, all right? So they are the standard. They are super robust. I mean, not much can go wrong with this particular element here. And they are rated for different towing weights, if you will. And so this nüCamp takes a 2-inch ball, and that would be mated to a tow bar. Some people will call it a stinger or something like that, but it'll be mated to that. You see it has this really solid connection point and a lock washer that's really beefy. So that'll be there. Now there's different size drops. You can drop lower, or you can flip it over and it can raise up to make sure that it's your tow vehicle, and more likely your trailer is riding just as level as you can get it. So pretty fantastic. Let's get a little bit closer to this trailer here, and we're going to talk about the 2-inch ball capacity and the 2 5/16 ball capacity, and some things you might want to keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to go with the 2-inch ball right now. Now these things, they can really handle quite a bit of weight for such a simple and relatively small connection point. You know, some of these can be rated pretty high. This one that I'm holding in my hand, 2-inch chrome hitch ball with a 1 1/4 inch shank. It is rated to an 8,000 pound capacity, which is way heavier than this trailer. Most of our small trailers don't even approach 8,000 pounds. There are some 2-inch balls that can be rated all the way up to 12,000 pounds. Maybe that's a little bit more rare to find that, but I want you to keep in mind that when you're coupling this, that it's not so much that this is the only number you want to look at, because it's not the only component in the chain. So let's say this is one of those unicorn 2-inch ball mounts couplers that can handle 12,000 pounds. Well, the coupler on the trailer, even though it fits that unicorn 12,000 pound like that, what if that coupler itself is not rated for 12,000 pounds? Well, then that's the number you need to go with. You want to stay at, or really for safety purposes, below the lowest number rating in your whole system. If it's the ball, you go with that lowest number. If it's the coupler, you go with that lowest number. If it's the drawbar, this drawbar is rated for 7,500. Well, that's less than the ball. So it is the lowest rated number so far that we would want to pay attention to. Now this goes into, let's face it this way, your tow vehicle's hitch receiver. You'll need to know what the hitch rating of that tow rating for that receiver is to make sure that that is safe for towing what you're planning to tow. It may be rated at only 4,500 pounds. Then you have to go with that. And then even beyond the mechanical connection point of the trailer, the ball, the tow bar, and the hitch mount on your vehicle, what if your tow vehicle itself is only rated at 3,200 pounds? Well, if that's the case, then you need to go with the lowest number. The 3,200 pounds is your absolute ceiling that you would want to tow with that setup. And like I said, we recommend you stay even below that. Give yourself some headroom, a little bit of safety cushion with that. I like to recommend that 70 at tops 80% of your tow capacity is your whole setup once you're attached. Just because that gives you more confidence. They seem to tow really nice that way. And let's say you have other scenarios that come into play. Shifting stuff, maybe you have a full tank of water. Maybe you have stuff that isn't tied down so well. Well, that causes a little bit of a momentum and inertia issue, and you're in a braking scenario. And that load comes up on your vehicle, and maybe you're downhill, it's a bit slick. There's so many things that can happen. And if you give yourself some headroom, you're actually adding safety to your travels. So look for the lowest number connection point in your whole towing system, from your tow vehicle, your hitch receiver, your tow bar, your tow ball, and the coupler and the trailer itself. And you find that lowest number and you stay safely, comfortably beneath that. And that'll give you a lot more peace of mind and make you better able to handle whatever the road may throw at you. The other size ball that we see usually at Princess Craft, even with some of our lighter weight trailers, would be the 2 5/16 inch ball. And as you would think, it's got more metal to it, more mass to it, so it can typically handle a higher tow load. This one is rated for 10,000 pounds. Now, I have seen these things supposedly rated. If you look online, you can find a few unicorn ones that are rated all the way up to, say, 30,000 pounds. I have never seen one with my eyes rated that high. I've never held one in my hands rated that high, but supposedly there are 2 5/16 balls out there rated for that. However, again, keep in mind, every piece of your system, all the components connected, will tell you the full story of what you really should or should not be towing when connected, whether it be a ball style coupler or otherwise. I do want to mention, because so many of you will be towing with the weight distribution or sway control system, the majority of weight distribution and sway control systems do use a ball style coupling system. There are a few of the 360 style couplers that can have weight distribution, but this is the most common. This is not a weight distribution video, so we're not going to be demonstrating one or setting one up, but I do want you to keep in mind that that does put a bit more friction and load on your connection point itself. Why? Because you have a trailer side and a tow vehicle side, and they are supposedly kind of getting low in the middle. They are not riding level, and that's what you're trying to do with weight distribution, is to push the weight from that connection point, right where my two fingers are meeting up, trying to push that outward, and it uses typically spring steel that goes between the two sides to flex it up. Well, while it's doing that, it's loading more weight onto that actual singular connection point. So just to be aware, they're designed to work that way. They work well. You can get many miles, thousands of miles, tens of thousands of miles maybe out of that connection point, but it has more load and more friction on it. So keep an eye on it just to make sure that you're in a safe realm from wear and tear standpoint. If you find some erosion on the ball or on the coupler itself, where the latch is, then it might be time to tune it or replace it. And it's always good to have a technician who looks at these couplers regularly, often, to get their eyes on it to make sure that you have a safe towing setup with or without a weight distribution or sway control system. Let's look at another connection type. A lot of the manufacturers that we carry, they have your standard line products, which will use that typical ball style coupling. However, there are a number of them, like Taxa here, that will, beef up their trailers for a little more light overlanding and off-roading. So this particular Taxa Mantis has a different suspension system, and it also has a different type of coupler that I really like. This is called the lock and roll. So you'll see attached here that there is no ball here at all. In fact, if you'll see how this is connected, there is a bar on the trailer side, there's a swivel here, and then over here, you have the ability to roll. Now let me show you how it actually attaches, because it's really quite simple. I'm gonna pull this pin out. Now usually there'd be a cotter pin through this little hole holding it together, and then you have this retention there. If you're loading or unloading, you just need that open, and then you can use the tongue jack to raise or lower it out of that slot. It's really quite ingenious. So let me show you what this does for you. I'm gonna put this other unit together real quick so you can see it from the top, if you will. It just drops into that groove, and these retention holders come in place. You put that pin through, and usually I'd be putting this cotter pin in, And there you go. So what does that give me? That gives me tilt, right? Look how much tilt that is. Let's say you're down in a ravine. You're going through a little low water crossing, steep downhill, steep uphill, but in the middle, your tow vehicle is going uphill while your trailer's still going downhill. You can't do this with your typical ball mount. It doesn't have that much free motion. So there's your tilt. Here on this swivel, look at that. Your trailer can have a whole lot of, what do they call it in airplane speech? Yaw, I think. All right, so you get that left and right yaw, you're up and down, but what about that kind of torsion rolling action right there? So you have 3 axes of motion there, which gives you incredible movement and free play while you're towing. It's a real simple hitch or coupling. It gives you lots of free range of motion, and they're rated at 11,000 pounds. Most of these trailers that you'll find a 360 style hitch on won't go up to that kind of weight because you want it to be light and nimble to follow a lighter weight SUV or truck way out into the boondocks. So the trailer itself won't even come close to the 11,000 pound capacity. If it does, remember what we talked about when we were talking about ball couplers. You want to stay in a safe range for, of course, safety, but also comfort in traveling. 1 or 2 more things. Now, as far as maintenance goes on this, it's pretty simple. You just want things to move freely, so you want to keep an eye on it, and you might want to make sure that there is grease where there needs to be grease. And there is a little rubber bushing way down in here on both sides, and that's going to be pretty much your part that shows where, if you're traveling hard and long and for a large amount of time. That is replaceable. It's meant to really give you a nice ride, but it is a little bit sacrificial. One more thing I want to just talk about these is you would think with this much range of motion, yaw, tilt, 360, or roll, you would think with that much range of motion that this style hitch would not have the ability to be used with a weight distribution setup. But I looked online and I did find that the Lock and Roll company makes this sort of system with a weight distribution hitch. I haven't had one come through here. I haven't seen the Lock and Roll system with weight distribution at Princess Craft or anywhere, but I looked at it online and it actually seems to make sense. It doesn't move quite the same way because it connects all behind the connection points behind the tow vehicle. So the whole weight distribution system is a little bit further back, maybe by inches in real terms, but just enough to allow a true weight distribution situation that can also take on the majority of that range of motion. You might see a bit of decrease with your tilt, and you might see a little bit of decrease with your yaw. I don't know that you would see any decrease with your roll, but you might see a little bit, and it might effectively just work like it has more tension on it. Same thing as we talked about with the ball coupler. That will result in a little bit more pressure, a little bit more load, and a little bit more friction in certain areas. So just make sure you keep your eye on your stuff and maintain it well. It'll serve you well and you'll go lots of places. Let's look at the next type. The last of the couplers that we see on our smaller, very nimble trailers around here at Princess Craft is this CruiseMaster DO35 coupler. There's a larger version, the DO45. We haven't seen them here yet. Maybe we will sometime, but it's a DO35. It has a rating of 7,714 pounds, which is maybe not as high as you saw with the ball coupler or the Lock and Roll, but keep in mind, most of these trailers that we've seen those other type couplers attached to don't even remotely approach that weight anyways. So it is perfectly within the realm. Now, if this is rated at 7,714 pounds, the DO45 is rated at, I believe, 9,920.8 pounds. 9,920.8 pounds. Pretty neat. So this kind of it's different, okay? So this goes on your tow bar that I showed you earlier, and it is not a tow ball. It's just a pin, it's a retention pin. What it'll allow you to do is you'll see this little notch here. First off, because it's rounded on top, it allows the, I'm gonna call it the ring or the halo of the coupler, which I'll show you here in a second, allows that to come over, and then just as soon as you lower it down, it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. It will self-align in a pretty good range of variabilities here. It'll self-align and then slide over that, and then there's a retention collar that slides right into that notch. Now, this is really cool because it allows it to get onto your tow vehicle and off really easy, self-aligns, and then that coupler has the ability to get that yaw motion that I was talking about earlier, the side-to-side motion right here around this pin. Let's come down here and take a look at how it works attaching, and maybe I'll be able to give you a little bit more. So here it is. This is the DO35, has a dust cover on it. I'm going to pull that off, and here is that ring or that collar that kind of guillotine clips over here. I'm going to show you how that works. So we're guiding our tow vehicle back, and we're right about here, and then you'll see as we lower down onto it, and I'm going to give that a little bit of tilt. As we're lowering down onto it, you see how it's tilting forward? Did you see that? So if you're not perfectly in line front to back or even side to side to a degree, there you go. Takes a bit of the guesswork out and makes it simple. So now the pin is through, but it's obviously going to come off in a bounce unless we do the next step. So here we are, lowering it down, it's in, and then I push this little red button, and you saw that collar slip right in. Now we're locked in place. And now take a look, I can spin that pin around in there. So that gives us our left and right movement, okay, our yaw. This allows for the up and down, or our tilt, right? So tilt, yaw, and then we have our real easy, real nice and smooth roll. So there we go. I mean, this is fantastic. Look, I'm gonna go all the way around. Look at that. Look at the tilt range of motion. Now it does stop right here on the vertical, but I mean, to get that kind of a pitch, your tow vehicle would be pointing that way. If you're in that situation, call for emergency help. SOS, I don't care. Send up flares. Your tow vehicle, your trailer, they're in a very tight V. So it has more range of motion than you need. Put that dust cover over. It comes with an integrated brake. It just bolts onto this really sturdy tongue. And like I said, there is a heavier duty version that I haven't seen come through our lot yet, but it is the DO45. Now the DO35, they do say works with most standard weight distribution hitch systems. Fantastic. Perfect, because weight distribution works so well to make your drive nice when you're heading down the highway. But if it's a standard weight distribution system, you might lose some degree of maneuverability, again, on the tilt, maybe a little bit on the yaw, and possibly on that 360 roll. I'm not sure how much. I haven't seen someone set this up with a weight distribution hitch. If it were me and I was set up for that, I would probably use the weight distribution system when I'm going down the road, the highway, and maybe take it off, disconnect it for the off-road portion. But it's a smooth system. It's a sturdy system. It's been around for a long, long time in Australia, where it was designed and engineered. So keep that in mind. It is a tried and true system. It's very simple, and it works great with these off-road trailers. I can't keep the sweat out of my eyes. So that does it. That's really our top 3 types of couplers or connection points that we see on most of our lightweight trailers here at Princess Craft. Sure, there's goosenecks for the more ranch style stuff. There's fifth wheels for the large toy haulers and fifth wheel style trailers and things like that. There are really neat other options on the market, but these are the 3 that we see the most of the time, most commonly around here at Princess Craft, particularly for our light, medium, and even some more robust trailers, weight trailers. And for our off-road or more off-road, maybe light duty off-road, I do suggest you check out what you can get in the lock and roll, or even this really cool CruiseMaster DO35 hitch that you see on the MDC-USA trailers. So there you go. If you have other questions on couplers, contact your local service center, contact Princess Craft Service Center. We will love to help you out. Anyone would. We want you to be safe, to have really fun, stress-free travel as much as you can. And choosing the right coupler for your tow vehicle and your trailer is one of the first steps you really need to look at. I'm Clint from Princess Craft. It's been a pleasure doing this presentation for you. We'll see you next time.